Welcome to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebrities and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your hosts, Jason Beck and Rico Lamitte, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country, and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time and high noon on the East Coast. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us.
Oh, yeah. You don't even see me, or am I just all blacked out?
Oh, that's a setup question, bro. I'm not even touching that with a 10-foot pole.
I'll have the lighting fixed by my stream. Until
is
then,
that what it's called?
Turn around and use the natural light.
I know how to set it up. Trust me.
Look at this.
It's a last minute thing,
yeah.
And y'all
Get
know
'em.
my lighting is always
Get
the
'em.
best. But right now, I am silhouette man, so just fast.
Oh, boy.
Until then, today is National Leadership Day, so it's fall in line, motherfuckers. National Comfy Day, where real clothes are optional. National Muffin Day, not to be confused with National Muffin Top Day, because, I'm not going there. Love Your Pet Day, because if you don't have one, rocks work. And of course, it's President's Day, because once upon a time, the colonizers that started this country were too woke to use the word king anymore. Everybody out there watching, please like, share, and hit the subscribe button. Follow us at High at 9 News across all social media platforms. We're live weekday mornings on YouTube and Twitch, audio only on Clubhouse. And if you do choose the Clubhouse route, you can also participate in the show by raising your hand with a brief comment on a story presented. Getting things started today, you know who it is. It's Green Street wheeling and dealing, mink coat rocking, private jet hopping, longest continuously operating retailer in the world, Mr. Jason Beck.
Oh, yeah. Good morning, Rico. Hope everyone had a fantastic weekend. That's right. It's Monday. It is the start of your work week. But today happens to be President's Day. And I'm guessing that the reason we have a holiday today is for presidents. But nonetheless, my story, get ready, people, because there's some trigger warnings in here. So just make sure you have your seatbelts on, because you might jump out of your seat. Because an 11-year-old boy in New York City overdoses on pot gummies at a Super Bowl party. Now, first of all, overdosing, I thought, meant that someone died. But nonetheless, the story in the saga continues. An 11-year-old Staten Island boy was hospitalized after grabbing up some THC gummies he mistook for candy at a Super Bowl party. And now his mom is urging the mayor to do something to prevent potential tragedies involving edibles. I mean, sounds pretty hypocritical to me, but nonetheless, Veronica Gill noticed her son Ryan, in quotes, acting really strange after returning home from a gathering at their friend's house in New Springsville. She told the Post, "My son was sitting on the couch with me and he started zoning out. At first, I thought he was pretending because he opened his eyes wide and laughed. Then he would zone out for a minute again, then open his eyes wide and laugh," she said. "My son was sitting on the couch with me and he started zoning out. At first, I thought he was pretending because he opened his eyes, and then he laughed again, and then he would zone out again." And this goes on over and over and over again. Gill became concerned when the youngster's laughter suddenly turned into cries for help, and his body started shaking. In a quote, he started saying, "Mom, I feel really weird." He was hearing voices. Then he started shaking. I thought he was maybe having a seizure. Panicked, the mother of 3 rushed Ryan to an urgent care center where his racing heartbeat led doctors to call an ambulance to take him to the ER at Richmond University Medical Center. After Ryan underwent a series of tests, including a CAT scan, God forbid they had to rule out a brain tumor. Gill said a urine test revealed that he had ingested a considerable amount of THC in the last few hours. She says, I was literally in shock. I couldn't believe it, Gill recalled. Gill was further disturbed to find out that her son had taken weed-infused gummies from a candy drawer at the straight-laced party throwers' home. Obviously, they're not that straight-laced. She says, when my friend went back to check the drawer after we told her what happened, she realized that the candy had THC in it. She called us hysterically crying. Gill said Gill wasn't angry with her friend who told her, I have no idea how the hell this got into my house. I mean, it probably came in through your purse, realistically. But instead, she turned the packaging. She fumed through the packaging for edibles like the ones her son ate, is allowed to resemble that of regular candy bars and have only small THC warnings that buyers can miss. So it says, a lot of people have said, how did she not know they were edibles? And I tell them, I wouldn't know. People that are used to that stuff know. People that don't know don't even think or look for THC warnings, Gill said. I'm really not blaming the homeowner at all because they're also a victim of this packaging. Oh, the packaging is such the culprit. Ryan stayed the night in the hospital, resting and drinking fluids while the symptoms wore off, according to his mom. And she says, thank God he's okay, she said. The number of calls to poison control centers for abuse and misuse of cannabis products in Americans ages 6 to 18 has skyrocketed, raising from 510 cases in 2000 to 1,761 cases in 2020, according to a recent study published by Clinical Toxicology. New York has only 4 licensed shops, but more than 1,400 illegal peddlers in New York City are selling unregulated products with little police intervention. Gill begged Mayor Adams to crack down on illicit cannabis sellers, especially those whose products are marketed towards children, something which the mayor promised to do during a City Hall press conference back on December 15th. What if the mayor makes it so that if the illegal sellers don't have a warning sign on their packages in big black bold letters, they get double the fine? Just try to protect the kids, Gill said. I mean, does anyone really even think that kids are reading these labels when they find candy in a drawer? I just have to ask myself that. And where are the parents at? And I just feel like Ice Cube and Boys in the Hood when he's yelling at Brenda to keep her babies out the street. And this is pretty much what it sums up to. This is Jason Beck reporting for the High at 9 News Hour. What do y'all think?
I just want to ask this mom why she has condoned or allowed her kid to think that it's okay to go to someone else's house and go through their damn drawers.
Yep.
What?
Exactly.
First of all, my kids would never do that in a million years, walk in someone's house and get in their business. Like, teach your kids some boundaries, first of all.
Right.
It's all bad. I blame the packaging.
I don't
blame the packaging.
How many times have kids, listen, I get it, right? Like, once you have an edible and you're a child and you've never had one before, it's definitely going to elevate you for sure. It's going to make you feel a little panicked. You don't quite know what to experience, but also, I think at the end of the day, there's also plenty of kids out there who have sipped their parents' sodas, or had access to, plenty of other things that could be risky for them in the household. So at the end of the day, my parents, just lock your stuff up, put it away, and also teach your damn kids to stay out of people's drawers. Jesus.
Yeah, Stacy Knox in the Clubhouse audience says, how about blaming the kid for taking something that wasn't theirs without permission?
Yeah. Right.
And I wonder too, maybe there wasn't a lot of food in the household that the child was raised in, and maybe he was just hungry and was looking for a snack.
Sounds like they're at a Super Bowl party.
Well, I understand that, but what I'm saying is maybe there wasn't a lot of food at his home where he actually lives,
right?
And so he was hungry. He was hungry, like kids get hungry.
Sounds to me like someone with an awful lot of privilege and entitlement who doesn't take responsibility for their own situation very often. That's what it sounds like to me.
That's what it sounds like to me too, Mandy.
The number one thing is or it's a 1-2 is education, and like Jason said, locking your shit away. I've had enough friends who have accidentally dosed on all kinds of stuff because it was marked due to originally being illegal as something that it wasn't. People mistakenly ingest all kinds of things. So we keep all of our weed food not in the regular fridge, up in our bedroom, away from anybody, not just kids, but our friends who might just throw a brownie in their mouth or who knows,
Just toss it in the mouth, huh?
I mean,
the
Chris,
best. My friend Shay, she was watching my friend's house and she was feeling a little overstretched, so she took a few droppers full of adrenal support. Only the adrenal support was a vial of LSD, and she ended up taking like 40 hits of acid on accident. So,
oh man, bro, I had that happen. Bro, I had that happen one time.
Yeah,
a buddy of mine went over there and he thought it was just like the breath, you know what I'm saying, the breath stuff, and he started fucking squirting a whole bottle down his throat, bro. Later on that day, I shit you not, he was running up and down the street butt naked and was never the same after that.
Dude, the first thing that happens when you get that high is you realize pants are a scam. Unless it's cold. Unless it's cold, then they're totally cool.
Pants are a scam. I love it.
Oh man. What about shorts? Are shorts a scam, Matthew?
Yes.
What about onesie lion suits?
Now that's fun. If you're doing it for fun, that's not a scam. That's a choice.
What about onesie snowman suits?
I'm down. Please buy me one for my birthday. It's June 5th.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
I mean, but now doesn't anyone think that it's a little disingenuous of these news organizations to be saying that the kid overdosed on cannabis edibles when like we always thought that overdosing means that someone dies or like has like a serious problem?
I did look up the official definition, and it does say that basically the definition of
hold on, you went on mute.
Is you've had too much and it winds you up at the hospital. That's the definition of overdose. Yeah.
Maybe we do it like overdose and overdose plus or overdose.
Just with like a skull sign.
Bro, I'm going to this party this weekend and I'm going to overdose plus.
Yeah.
Listen, when I think of overdose, I think you died.
Right.
That's what I think too. If you overdosed, you died. Like that's generally the cause. They overdosed.
Right, but that's why I think it's important you shared this. One of the reasons I like you shared this article, Jason, is because of the verbiage in the headline, and I think it's important to understand, some of the negative stigmas that still come through on or about cannabis that, are unique, right? Because to that point, the definition is what it is, but that's how they used it. I think it was a little bit mistelling, which I think is important to touch on, right? Like, yeah. I mean, this is good that it happened, and it brings up good conversation about, parenting and storage and all these other things, which is important to touch on. But that verbiage struck out to me too. That's why I was glad you shared this article.
Yeah. You got it is all on the parents, man. You got to teach your kids not to go in other people's shit. Number one, and you got to teach them like what cannabis is, what edibles are, and what they're not, and so they won't be in situations like this. If the parents and whatever chaperones or whatever had their shit put away, locked up like they should have been, then we wouldn't be having this conversation. Period.
Right? I mean, it's crazy. I just can't believe they use the word overdose and the kid's fine. That to me is like, whatever. Yeah.
It's gonna lead to a conversation.
Yeah. We gotta go to a commercial real quick. We're gonna be right back. Yeah, run that at him. When you want to grow some of the best weed in the world, then you must start with the best genetics in the world. Go to www.dnagenetics.shop to order regular, feminized, or autoflower beans. All of your favorite DNA genetics cultivars such as Kosher Kush, Skywalker Kush, and oh yeah, Chocolate Truffle Shuffle. Boasting more cannabis awards for their award-winning genetics than any other company in the world. Remember to go to www.dnagenetics.shop to see why our terps don't lie. Oh, yeah, that's right. Coming up next, we have the dope dad himself. That's right. It's Rico Lamitte. When he's not shucking and jiving, he's jiving and shucking. That's right. And you know what? And he finally got his lighting right so we can actually see his pretty little face. That's right. It is the dope dad himself on a weekend vacay, still on this holiday 3-day weekend. It is Rico Lamitte.
Thank you, Jason. It's more than a 3-day weekend for me. This is my 10-year anniversary. So me and Jasmine got the fuck out of Dodge. And you know what? We out here celebrating.
Happy anniversary.
We don't need your motherfucking lights when we having sex all over this motherfucking apartment. So this one's for you. This was, hey man, back in April 2022, New Jersey Attorney General Matt Platkin became a man amongst boys in the world of attorneys general everywhere when he mustered up the courage to issue a memo to all Garden State police chiefs and law enforcement agencies, instructing them that they may not take any adverse action against officers because they do or do not use cannabis off duty. Let's give a round of applause for Matt Platkin. That one's for you, Chris Eggers. For you. Maybe one day back in the day, you had an attorney general like him, but California, Gavin Newsom pretends to be something he's not. I won't go there. But to make sure nobody was misconstrued on the order's intent, he also clarified there'd be zero tolerance for cannabis use, possession, or intoxication of officers while performing their law enforcement duties. It seemed like a no-brainer at the time, and New Jerseyans would be better off knowing that their cops weren't off-duty engaged in cliche binge drinking activities. However, the decision caught plenty of officials and high-ranking cops off guard and became a thorny issue, leading to months of back-and-forth negotiations to provide officers with a clear guideline and some protection for it as well. Well, we've reached the climax, and the rules are officially etched in stone. Going forward, New Jersey police officers will no longer be tested for cannabis unless they're suspected of using or being under the influence while on duty, or if their position requires federal drug testing. Additionally, officers can be screened if they work or hold licenses regulated by the federal government, as cannabis remains illegal on a federal level. But off the clock, officers are free to do what the fuck they like regarding their consumption of legal cannabis, as long as they are 21 and above. So if you find yourself in New Jersey anytime soon, maybe even rolling one up at Raekwon's Hashtoria Cannabis Lounge in Newark, maybe send a pre-roll or two to the local cops' way. Who knows? It might buy you a little wiggle room if you run into them again in traffic court. This is Rico Lamitte, dopest dad on the street for High at Night News. What say you guys? I'd like to ask Chris Eggers first. What do you have to say about this, man? Attorney General.
First of all, you mentioned traffic court. Always ask the cop when his days off are, so you can reschedule that court date to that day. And they probably don't want the overtime; they just want to be off. So then you get there and it gets kicked. Not always. This is not legal advice.
Is the cop really going to tell you what day he has off?
Jay, do you think that
I get what your point? Your point is you may catch him off guard and he might just throw it out there. Is what you're saying?
Let me ask you this, Jay. What do you think if you were chatting me up on a car stop, right? And you know me well enough now, and you ask me, hey, what are your days off? Right? I'm gonna be like, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Why? What's up? Just casual.
Go on a bowling date?
Maybe, I don't know.
Hey,
I mean, let's smoke some weed.
Yeah, I get it. I get it, bro.
We're New Jersey.
I get it.
Yeah,
shout out to the Attorney General.
I mean, we'll see what happens. I think, let people smoke, I guess, right?
Yeah,
let people smoke. I mean, here's the thing: is that they said that the cops still can't have possession of marijuana on them while on duty. But what happens if they seize it while on duty?
Can you flip it on them and provide a citizen's arrest at that point?
I'm just wondering, bro, because if they have it on them, they
anymore at this point. That just doesn't make sense. Seems greedy.
I mean, what if they find it on some kids and they just take it from the kids and they're like, hey, you know what?
Cops take pot and just stick it in their pocket. If
they 100% do.
Yeah, they do. Yes, they do.
Will you just listen for 5 fucking seconds? I'm tired of the white male privilege on this fucking show.
Yeah, Rico.
Listen.
Oh boy.
I would like to speak.
Full Republican.
I was saying, if the cop is taking it for actual evidence, Chris Eggers, back me up. You're not sticking some evidence in your pocket and taking it home with you. It's actually going to go through some chain of command, would it not?
That's not true.
No,
that's not true.
Like I get why listen, there's a bunch of data points we can point to sort of fight back against what I'm about to say, right? But one thing I learned in Oakland early on when I was a rookie was just optics. This is before social media was really big, before cameras were coming out and was really big, was just optics around how you move and how you operate. And when you see something, right, optically, it looks bad if it goes into your pocket, even if it's for evidentiary purposes and that's just where you store it at the time. So that was like one move that like I would always avoid. Go to the car, put on the dash, something like that, super obvious, just to take that argument away. Now, if a cop wants to go and let's say they want to go smoke weed, I really don't think that they're gonna, I mean, me personally, I would go get it. I would feel uncomfortable smoking from somebody that if I was that person to take it off of them and then go use it. I don't know what's in it. You know what I mean? And you see enough of that all the time. So I would think that, listen, it's not that hard. If you're an active law enforcement officer and you want to get your hands on some cannabis, you can do it. And you can do it in a way where, you know that it comes from a legit place, a dispensary, et cetera, et cetera.
I mean, but Chris, I mean, isn't to the point that we were trying to make is that cops do this all the time, and I think a perfect example is that cop. Do you remember the one that like ate a bunch of pot brownies and then called 911 on himself because he was so freaking high?
That lives rent free in my head.
So hilarious.
I love that video. Is so funny.
Yes, I think that was the best of all time.
We're dead. That's what he said to him.
Yeah, he did.
We're dying. I think we're dead.
Mr. Cooper, what up?
There's got to be an audio call recording of that somewhere.
There is. It was amazing. And Gretchen, have you ever heard it? Have you ever heard that call, the police call?
I have not.
Oh my goodness. You know, we're going to find this on the internet. We're going to send this to you later today because you have to listen to this. You are going to roll over in your chair laughing. The amount of enthusiasm from Gretchen today is amazing. Oh boy.
It's super spicy.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we're gonna keep it moving here.
Let's roll.
Let's do it. Up next, she's a super spicy redhead conservative known for dressing pit bulls in pajamas and a true believer in the one bad apple dirty cop defense. Up next is the Panoptic Strategies founder and our very own Washington insider, Gretchen Gailey.
Good afternoon. I was actually in a good mood until, good old Sean Kiernan decided to start with me on fucking chat this morning because all of us white women have a certain privilege. But I am happy to report that I received a letter in the mail this weekend.
Look at that.
Self-addressed stamped envelope with
$100. Look at that. Yeah.
So Jason Beck has come through after
you gotta hit it with the pen though. Hit it with the counterfeit pen real quick.
Yeah, you have the counterfeit pen.
That shit's real, bro. That shit came from me. That's 100% real.
After 2 fucking months. Ridiculous.
Well, I mean, I told you if you were here and I saw you in person, Gretchen, I would have gave it to you in person, but I had to make sure that it actually got to you.
I'm sure that's was your main concern there.
I'm just glad it didn't get lost in the mail.
I know, those crazy Trumpers and what they did to the Postal Service. Who knows when it would have gotten here?
I thought it was just Joe Biden's America and they were all on strike.
I don't know. You're insane. And another little hot nugget for you folks who don't know where President's Day comes from. Back in the day, we used to celebrate George Washington's birthday and Abraham Lincoln's birthday in February, and so they decided to consolidate it and just do one federal holiday. So that's why it's President's Day today. Anyway, my headline is a very exciting headline, but it's a really boring story. It's from JD Supra. Finally, good news from the IRS. Cannabis operators could be eligible for qualified business income deductions. If you didn't attend the American Bar Association section of taxation meeting last week, you may have missed that IRS counsel confirmed they will not automatically challenge a Section 199A qualified business income deduction claimed by a cannabis business owner. What is Section 199A of the Internal Revenue Code? This provision replaced the Section 199 domestic production activities deduction that existed prior to the 2018 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. Simply put, It provides many owners of sole proprietorships, partnerships, S corporations, and some trusts and estates a deduction of income from a qualified trade or business on their personal tax return, thereby reducing an individual's tax liability. While subject to certain limitations, it equals 20% of qualified business income from a domestic business operated as a sole proprietorship or through a partnership, S corporation, trust, or estate. Now, why is this important for cannabis? First, the IRS hasn't provided much public guidance to cannabis businesses or business owners on the many issues that arise in applying the punitive IRS Code Section 280E or other more nuanced tax issues like the qualifying for the employee retention credit. Until now, there has been uncertainty among tax preparers as to whether cannabis owners could claim a deduction of income from a qualified trade or business on their individual income tax returns. Any public guidance provided by the IRS assists cannabis business operators and their respective advisors and tax preparers to avoid uncertainty and surprises when the inevitable IRS audit occurs. So this recent development is significant. Second, the ability of cannabis operators to deduct a portion of income flowing through on their individual tax return will potentially reduce the operator's individual tax liabilities. However, for taxpayers with incomes above certain thresholds, the Section 199A deduction is limited to 50% of W-2 wages or 25% of W-2 wages plus 2.5% of unadjusted basis in all qualified property. For cannabis operators, this means cultivators and manufacturers will benefit from the IRS's good news more than retail businesses or vertically integrated cannabis companies because Section 280E does not limit the costs that are deductible for the cultivation and manufacturing sides of the business in the same way that impacts the retail side of a business. If you have pass-through income from a cannabis operation, what should you do as a result of this development? Call your tax preparer and confirm you have claimed Section 199A for prior tax years. If you have not, file amended returns before the statute of limitations expires. Then work with your tax return preparer to budget your 2023 estimated taxes with a Section 199A deduction included in the estimates. I'm not an accountant. I can't give actual real advice on any of this. However, I would suggest if you are a cultivator or a manufacturer, bring up to your accountant 199A and see if it helps you this year on your taxes. This is Gretchen for High at 9 News.
And why was it that it doesn't help specifically retailers, Gretchen?
I don't know. I don't run a retail business. How should I know?
I
think it has to do with. I think it has to do with the different sales and stuff that go through retail that a grower or a manufacturer does not.
It has to do with cost of goods and just input products and large amounts of non-cannabis products in the facility.
I just find it interesting that she also said it doesn't help vertically integrated businesses when those people,
because they're also doing sales.
Mm-hmm.
I think it has to do with business doing sales. It's not the same.
But
like real sales,
it's
like
all
sales to
sales.
consumers.
So it sounds like distributors.
Jason Beck, talk to your accountant. Do I look like a CPA?
Yes, you do. Actually, today you do.
Yeah,
your hair all done up. Yep.
With my still professional.
Yep. Stone. You definitely look like an accountant now.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yep.
Gretchen Wise.
I mean, you get high though, Gretchen. Are you really stoned?
I've tried. I've tested positive for THC, but it doesn't do anything.
Video evidence come to light. I still haven't seen that video evidence, so I don't believe it.
Talk to Nicole Buffon. She is an eyewitness.
We will be talking to her tomorrow, so we're definitely going to find out about this and get to the bottom of it.
Go for it.
I
Post
think
that
this is
link.
huge
People
news,
in the
though.
chat are quite want to know more about this.
Yes, if they want to know about this, they need to head over to highat9news.com where they can find all of the links to today's stories. Yes. Boom, right there. See that little Scantron right there that just popped up? Boom. That's where you can find it all out.
Check it out.
Scantron.
Check it out. Yeah, create your profile.
I know it's not that exciting, but people taxes are important. And
hey, this is a super exciting. I think this is the most exciting story today.
Super sexy.
But
not as sexy as my $100 bill though.
Right. You can't write off operating expenses. You can offset income, right? That's it. So, I mean, 280E still wins.
I mean, of
Whatever.
course, 280E still wins, but this is, I mean, it's a help. It's a help.
Doing the best
Just
I
like
can here,
boom,
Rico.
yeah.
No, I'm saying it's a step in the right direction, but you know,
Such a
still
Debbie
right off.
Downer, Rico.
He's always a Debbie Downer.
Just saying.
All right, keep it moving.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Run that commercial, Adam.
At True Classic OG, we live by one motto: stay true. We stay true to our legacy cut of True OG that's always fresh, piney, gassy, and delicious. We represent the spirit and hustle and diversity of our great city of Angels, and we stay true to the spirit of this plant, doing everything in-house to ensure that you get the highest quality and consistency with every batch. And that's what made us LA's favorite OG. True Classic OG. Stay true, Los Angeles.
Oh, yeah. The thoughts and opinions and general overall shade thrown at High and Nine News are those of the individual speakers and not those of any other speaker or its followers. The statements made do not constitute legal or accounting advice, and our speakers make no representation regarding the legal status of any substance in any country, area, or territory, or any authorities. The views expressed in this room do not establish any fiduciary relationship, and our sponsors do not imply or constitute any endorsement by us or the expression of any opinion whatsoever on the part of any speaker on stage. If you're an easily offended person, this show is probably not for you, and maybe you should go and redo your taxes.
She's a NorCal-based Emerald Cup edibles judge known to some as Carmen Sacramento for her never-ending international quest to find the world's most perfect cannabis and psychedelic edible experience. A crusader for female entrepreneurship on a mission to show the world cannabis, motherhood, and executive lifestyle do go together. You know who it is. Coming up next, Manndie Tingler.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Happy Monday, everybody. Today's article that I'm covering is President's Day, of course. Headline comes to us from Marijuana Moment and reads, Biden signs equity-focused executive order that touts marijuana clemency actions, calling criminalization a failed approach. President Joe Biden issued an executive order on Thursday that touts the administration's efforts to address the failed approach on federal marijuana policy. The executive order doesn't specifically build on any administrative cannabis reforms. Rather, it's focused on promoting equity within federal agencies and the White House. But the president took the opportunity to connect the issue back to his marijuana actions. Biden issued a mass pardon for people with nonviolent federal cannabis possession convictions late last year and directed a multi-agency review into marijuana scheduling under the Controlled Substances Act. Quote, my administration has taken action to strengthen public safety, advance criminal justice reform, our country's failed approach to marijuana, civil rights, and stand against rising extremism and hate-fueled violence that threaten the fabric of our democracy, the president said. A fact sheet that the White House released on the executive order expands the president's cannabis record. The president took bold action to address our failed approach to marijuana. It says the criminalization of marijuana possession has upended too many lives for conduct that is now legal in many states. The purpose of the mass pardon for marijuana was to, quote, lift barriers to housing, employment, and educational opportunities for thousands of people with those prior convictions. The president also called on every state governor to follow his lead, as most marijuana prosecutions take place at the state and local level. And because this administration is guided by science and evidence, he called on the Department of Health and Human Services and the Department of Justice to expeditiously review how marijuana is scheduled under federal law. A separate new White House domestic policy report on equity efforts also includes a description of Biden's cannabis actions. Biden's new order further advancing racial equity and support for underserved communities through the federal government directs federal agencies to produce an annual public equity action plan to analyze barriers that underserved communities may face in accessing and benefiting from programs, among other steps. The administration has routinely highlighted the cannabis clemency and review actions, often in the context of equity and racial justice. It was also mentioned in a preview ahead of Biden's State of the Union address this month, but the president didn't explicitly raise it in his speech. On Martin Luther King Day, Biden described his marijuana pardons as a reflection of his commitment to equal justice. End of last year, the president granted half a dozen additional pardons, including for a handful of people with marijuana or other drug convictions on their records. Domestic Policy Council Director Susan Rice said in December that the president's broader cannabis clemency and directive for administrative review into cannabis scheduling have helped address the country's failed approach to marijuana and represents key parts of the administration's, quote, remarkably productive year. Meanwhile, a bipartisan group of 29 congressional lawmakers from both the House and the Senate sent a letter to the president in December asking that he formally back federal marijuana legalization as the administration carries out the cannabis scheduling review. While lawmakers didn't request that Biden take administrative action to unilaterally facilitate legalization, it does underscore an eagerness among supporters for the White House to play a more proactive role in advancing reform. U.S. Health and Human Services Secretary Xavier was CC'd on the letter, tweeted a link to Marijuana Moment article that discusses the president's administrative cannabis scheduling directive. We're going to take a look at what science tells us and what the evidence tells us, Becerra, who was a considerable record supporting cannabis reformer as a congressman and now California's attorney general, said at the recent overdose prevention event. That will guide what we do, and we hope that will guide what the federal government does. Following the president's order in October, the secretary said that the department would work as quickly as we can to carry out the scientific review, and he's already discussed the issue with the head of the Food and Drug Administration. Gupta said previously that the president's actions were historic and clearly in advance of medical benefits for cannabis. Like HHS, DOJ has similarly committed to quickly carrying out the separate scheduling review the president directed, which will in a recommendation to place cannabis in a lower schedule and remove it altogether, effectively legalizing the plant under federal law. The president also signed marijuana research bill into law in December, making historically by enacting the first piece of standalone federal cannabis reform legislation in the U.S. history. A series of polls have shown that Americans strongly support the president's pardon action, and they also don't think that marijuana should be federally classified as a Schedule I drug. So, guys, the president is trying to take some actions, however big or small. I would love to hear your input about his place in our industry and his efforts. This is Mandy at the High at 9 News on Monday. Let me know what you think.
I mean, anytime you have this administration saying that they're going to base things on science, I'm already super, super worried.
The thing is, this is just more just rhetoric.
Just look at Ohio right now. The water's safe to drink. Sure.
Right. I mean, this is what happens. I'm not going to go into the Ohio debate right now, but I will say that if any kind of equity-driven initiatives are put forward, they need to be done on a federal level, regardless. Not these bullshit executive orders that Joe Biden seems to be having a good time, signing into nothing that we keep on seeing him do. But if there's any kind of like social equity bill or anything, it needs to be done on a federal level, because as we've said many times over here, if interstate commerce gets to going, it just might nullify all of the state and municipality driven social equity initiatives that we have in place right now. So I think there's a bunch of bullshit coming from the Oval Office, more from Joe Biden, just to do something, to act like he's being busy. But I don't know. What do y'all think?
Hold on. Didn't he sign this morning in Ukraine?
No, he signed it last week.
Okay.
But the point is, regardless of whatever this executive order says, it has nothing to do with cannabis. I don't care what this man says, because frankly, Cannabis is still a federally illegal substance, so there's absolutely no way that it would benefit from any of the provisions laid out here in this executive order. So the man is full of shit and just trying to pretend that he cares about pot once again, hoping that the voters don't understand what he's doing. It's all horseshit.
So are you saying that this does absolutely nothing for weed, but they're touting that it does?
100% nothing.
So you're saying the White House is lying?
It always lies. Are you out of your mind? All of them lie. I'm not saying just Joe Biden. They all lie.
Yep.
Oh,
I
boy.
agree with you 1,000,000% on that.
I do too. I 100% agree with you, Gretchen.
I only operate in reality.
I just
That's
wanted
all
to hear
I
you.
operate in.
Well, sometimes you do. This time you are.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Mhm. Yeah, there's that sigh. There's that sigh again.
And as much as Marijuana Movement wants to keep pushing that there's a possibility for complete descheduling, they're out of their gourds. I don't know what
Exactly.
they're thinking. Joe Biden, in absolutely no way.
How do you feel?
That route.
How do you feel
Not a
about
chance.
the White House actually quoting your favorite news source there?
What?
The White House actually quoting
Who'd they
Marijuana
quote?
Moment there. Yeah.
They didn't quote Marijuana Moment.
Pointing to a Marijuana Moment article.
No. Javier
no.
Becerra
Becerra,
directed to,
Okay.
the Attorney General.
Sounds like
Xavier Becerra is the man's name. And
I thought you pronounced Javier. They pronounce it Javier out here in California.
what are you talking about?
Just
The
saying.
man's name is spelled Xavier. Xavier.
Yeah, and it's pronounced Javier.
Okay, well, if I'm going to pronounce Javier, I'd spell it with a J. But
Yeah.
Not an H.
what? I don't need this book. Not this morning, just that. Federal holiday, don't fucking working. That annoys me.
Yeah.
Move on.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
Gretchen,
Run that commercial, Adam.
gasket.
Oh, yes. Coming up next. That's right. He used to have a badge and a badge and a notepad, but he traded it in for a blunt and a YouTube. That's right. That's right. He's the founder of CC Security Solutions, and if your spot gets busted into by these ravaging thugs out on the street, he's the first person you should call for a security review. Or maybe you should call him before that shit happens to your spot so you can secure it so then they can't break in the first place. But that's right. It is Chris Eggers.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for having me on this beautiful Monday morning. My article comes out of berkeleyside.org. Jason, get your calculator, get your abacus out. We want to check this math. This cop math is going to be interesting. Authorities seized 19 million in illegal cannabis from West Berkeley warehouse. That's 12,000 pounds of cannabis worth over 19 million, according to the Department of Cannabis Control. So they said that they shut down a major illegal grow in West Berkeley last week, 12,000 pounds of cannabis. This was out on 4th Street, where they seized 22,600 cannabis plants worth 18.6 million. Jason, please. And then 244 pounds of cannabis flower worth 400,000. The warehouse was previously home to a sheet metal company called Gray Six Company, which was, quote, according to this article, quote, heavily fortified. They don't expand or explain what that means to them. But this is according to David Hafner, a spokesperson for the Department of Cannabis Control. Hafner estimated that at least 24 individuals would have been involved in this seizure. One Berkeley police officer was involved, according to Berkeley PD spokesperson. Drug enforcement is the bottom of Berkeley PD's list of priorities, according to this article, in line with city law. Berkeley PD's drug task force ended in 2016, and the city no longer has a special enforcement unit, which is said to make these types of investigations and conduct these investigations a little bit more difficult. The Berkeley operation is the latest in a series of raids on illegal grows in the East Bay. In the last 3 weeks, the state agency shut down 3 illegal cannabis operations in Oakland and Hayward, seizing close to $39 million in cannabis. very interesting. I want to check this math. Authorities did not make any arrests in connection with this seizure in Berkeley, though the Department of Cannabis Control is looking for the individuals behind the operation. Got some questions about that. Agencies will destroy all the cannabis by throwing it in a landfill, according to the DCC. That's my article for today. I'd like to get Jason to weigh in on the math, and then interested to see that the DCC is still looking for these people. I would think that would fall on local law enforcement, but curious to hear what your thoughts are. My name's Chris. Thanks for allowing me to contribute on Monday morning. Jay, go ahead. Sorry.
No, not at all, Chris. I'm sorry. This math is so bad that Apple calculators don't even go up to 19 million. That's how bad this math is.
And if you use that, Apple calculators are the standard up there in Berkeley, by the way. So I'm just waiting for the first police bus to put $1 billion on. $19 billion worth of cannabis is found in this man's trunk.
Only if they have a hairless cat that they could pet while singing.
With a pink, don't forget the pinky ring.
Yes.
Don't forget the pinky ring with a compass so you don't get lost.
Price of candy gas is going up in the Bay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. And this, the other thing this is pointing to is it's becoming more and more, the best strategy is becoming going back to an 8 to 20 lighter, keeping it small, not trying to like break the bank and do anything crazy. And that's how you avoid detection by this whole thing.
That's how, by 18 to 20 lighter.
8 to 20 lighter. 8 to 20 lighter, grow the best weed on the planet, sell ounces to your friends. Don't try to make $1 million. You'll make more than enough money to like pay all your bills, go on a vacation a year, and you won't be running some, 400 light warehouse that's going to get you cracked, because that's what they're looking for.
They're looking for a lot more things than that nowadays.
And the other thing they're doing too, I know we talked about this before, but going after or attacking on grand theft charges for stealing power and stuff like that. So that's how a lot of this stuff shakes out in agencies that don't necessarily have like a drug task force. They'll go out and read meters and look at that kind of thing.
I mean, $19 million they're estimating, and they said just over 12,000 pounds. That's an incredible street value. Like that's over $10,000 a pound.
But again, so back to your article,
just
Jason,
with heady math,
with that headline, right? It's like, it's about cannabis, so it's got to pop, right? And I think it's important to. I'm glad this is the reason I reported on this was because I knew the math was going to be all jacked up, right? It's pretty obvious.
That's $1,500 a pound. They could be getting that if it's the right strain and done perfectly.
No, you're doing your math wrong.
No, bro, 19 million, right? Boom.
That's you don't have enough zeros behind that 19 million.
19 million.
No, that's not 19 million. That's 1900,000.
No, Jason, I know how math works.
It's
Does anybody really know how math works? Let's be real.
1900,000.
Yeah, I'm not.
That would be 1.9 million.
Yeah, that would be 1.9, but they're saying
I know,
19
but this is
million.
19 million.
Are you sure?
Yeah. Well,
my calculator does go up to 19 million.
My calculator doesn't.
My calculator goes up to 190 million.
You got to download a better calculator, Jason.
No. I don't think no.
Jason, are you using one of those calculators that's not really a calculator, but it like hides your secret files and stuff? Is that
it does do that. It does hide a lot of secret files.
19 million.
No.
My calculator.
I'm going to provide a link to what does 19 million look like in the chat, you guys.
No, you're so silly. You're so silly, you guys. Oh man. Oh, you guys.
Keep it moving here, man. Let's keep it.
Yeah, let's keep it moving.
It's short on brain cells.
Yeah.
All right. Up next, he is an immortal cannabis wizard with a deep love for all things phallic and a deeper hatred for oppressive articles of clothing intended to shield his own phallus. Up next, you know who it is. It's the co-host of What's Good podcast, here to take us home with a little timeless knowledge. It is him, the immortal Count Mathieu St. Germain.
Thank you, Rico, and thanks to all who even dropped off today. I think we offended some of our own folks. This is a real cool story for me.
All the women hate us.
So Lucy in Canada files with Health Canada to manufacture cocaine and heroin. A psychedelic manufacturing company is moving forward with cocaine and heroin manufacture with an end goal to fight fentanyl overdoses and drug addiction. British Columbia-based Lucy Scientific Discovery, a psychedelics manufacturing company focused primarily on emerging psychotropic-based medicines, announced today in a press release that it has filed an amendment to its current dealer's license with Health Canada. The amendment would add cocaine and heroin to its existing list of approved substances the company is authorized to manufacture. Lucy already is authorized through Health Canada to manufacture several controlled substances, including psilocybin, MDMA, LSD, DMT, mescaline, and 2CB. Adding cocaine and heroin to the portfolio could lead to treatments to fight addiction. We look forward to a time when Lucy can safely supply harm reduction programs globally, aiming to reduce lethal and/or negative consequences associated with adulterated drug supply, particularly concerning that fentanyl overdose is a leading cause of death among 18 to 45-year-olds in the United States, said Lucy CEO Chris McElvaney. It's time to realize that the failed war on drugs has caused additional harm to the masses worldwide, and harm reduction programs will lead to less death and more treatment options in the long term. This reflects a sea change in the way that controlled substances are being explored for potential benefits in the field of medicine. With more focus on public health response to the drug crisis, the company can provide more opportunities for people who use substances to gain access to more harm reduction and treatment. This license would enable Lucy to develop, sell, deliver, and manufacture via extraction or synthesis these other narcotics. The company works with raw materials, crude extracts, making single molecules, as well as white label, private label products. This is backed by the National Center for Health Statistics in Canada and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention in America. And lastly, they include a little fact of over 106,000 people in the U.S. died from drug-involved overdoses in 2021, mostly due to prescription opioids, mainly fentanyl, and that's according to the CDC. For me, this is very good news, and this is something I learned. I came up fighting my own drug war in a pro-psychedelic, pro-cannabis space, and the more I interacted with people of color, especially people of color doing social policy, the more I was hip to the fact that we really need to legalize all drugs because the criminalization of cocaine, heroin, and these other narcotics actually even more so target people of color and the poor. And what we need is to integrate these people into a system of trauma therapy, recovery, and help, and not just continue to destroy their lives. And I'm interested in what you guys have to say.
I, for one, do not want maple syrup in my cocaine.
Does it touch on any of the practices that they're going to use to make this cocaine?
It said extraction and synthesis. So
exactly. So it's going to be synthetic cocaine. So it's not even going to be real.
No. Extraction and synthesis is what the license is for. So yeah, they could very well extract it.
Will it be full scale?
I don't know. I'm with Benson on this. He's like, first Canadians ruined bacon, then weed. Now they're going after cocaine. Right, I'm 100% in agreement with you on that.
Yeah, I don't know where they plan on getting this this maple syrup.
This is gonna be like Marinol's version of THC, but for cocaine. That's what it's gonna be. It's gonna fucking do nothing.
Do you guys know where the cocaine used medically to make lidocaine, benzocaine, and these other products in America is sourced from?
Where, Matthew?
The Coca-Cola Company. The Coca-Cola Company is the only corporation or entity licensed to import coca leaves for manufacture and extraction in the U.S. They extract the cocaine, give that to the federal government, and then they use the coca syrup flavor in their drink.
So when they officially stopped putting cocaine in the drink, they never stopped manufacturing it. They just started passing that shit off to the government.
Correct, Rico.
And that's where the cops.
Hold on a second. Hold on. So that's where you got to go to get the bricks. Is you got to go to the Coke manufacturing plant, and that's where the real plug is.
That's why Atlanta's so fucking popping.
Get out of here! I didn't know that. That's fascinating, Matthew.
Yeah, Matthew, I learn so much every time, man. I love it.
So literally, they're making kilos.
Yes.
In the Coca-Cola factory.
Yes.
Just so they can get the taste of cocaine. So they
they have a government monopoly.
They can get natural terps
on it.
Natural cocaine terps.
Coke terps
to put in the soda.
We are not licensed to give out financial advice or anything, but it sounds to me like we should all be buying more Coca-Cola stock.
Mm-hmm. Do they test for purity?
I'd like to end around real quick though. That hard drug decriminalization is a social justice and social equity issue, and really nothing is going to change. No matter how many psychedelics we legalize, nothing is going to change until we stop the stigmatization of people who are addicted to these drugs. Most of them are doing so as a trauma release, self-medication. Most people aren't like scumbags. Even most of the mentally ill people, they're not like crazy scumbags. Even if you might see them dirty and distraught on the street, they're injured people who need help. Most of them are turning to medication and then become unable to care for themselves. And I think we really need to turn our society, like I say, almost every episode, we need to turn our society towards helping these people.
Yeah, and I don't want to just throw anybody on the bus or anything here. This is a real question. I mean, do we still have like a big problem with cocaine addiction? I know the media page has flipped to a bunch of other things like meth and like other addictives, opioids, obviously. But is cocaine really still as big of a problem as it was before?
I mean, I think so. I mean, just it's I mean, I still see it as prevalent as I did when I was younger. You know what I mean? As far as people using it and whatnot, there's always people doing it somewhere at some party.
Yeah, I mean,
it's really been taken over.
Or they just like trying to stay awake.
It doesn't matter what they're trying to do; they're consuming it. That has nothing to do with any of that. Doesn't matter what they're using it for. But I wonder how come like CNH pure cane sugar got left out of all this.
Well, was it the Faljoul family, the one that did that dirty deal with Kennedy to make sure we have sugar in everything that we have here in America?
That was the trade-off for the fact that Coca-Cola is allowed to manufacture cocaine.
Connect the dots. What do you think about that? I'm St. Germain.
I didn't even know about that. I'd like to actually know more.
Oh yeah, that's why that's why Americans are so fucking obese. So like back in the day, it's like one of the biggest sugar producing families. They did a deal with the Kennedys, and that's why we have sugar in absolutely everything here in America. So they hedged the price of sugar manufactured and sent to the U.S. So we will always pay more than everybody else, and we have to use that. And that's why everywhere we go, there's sugar in everything. That's why Americans are so fucking fat.
Crazy.
Blame the Kennedys. That's why CIA took them out.
Well, the Kennedy family came up on alcohol prohibition, and they actually still get a duty for all Scotch imported from Scotland.
It's all fucked up, dude.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
Decentralize everything, and everything will come to light.
Yeah, the Kennedys were like the Juarez cartel. It's just that they were white and from New England, so that was all right, Whereas Al Capone was Italian, so he got targeted by the federal government.
Yeah.
Oh boy. You got anything left on that, Chris? What do you have any comments on this?
No, I'm learning as much from listening to you guys as I didn't know about that.
Did you ever pull over a Coca-Cola truck and just find bundles of cocaine leaves?
I was jacking Pepsi trucks. Man, I knew something.
You were jacking Pepsi trucks. Oh man!
Did you know this was in there? Like, I didn't know it was in there.
Jason, do you think I can joke on here, or do you think people think like because I used to be a cop and I make a joke like that I'm serious?
I think you should make those kinds of jokes.
Do you think people know I'm joking?
I think you should 100%. I think you
100%.
It was Mountain Dew trucks. I mean, but that's still a Pepsi product.
Hey, do you remember Sparks? Who remembers Sparks?
Oh yeah,
Sparks. What do you mean?
Come on, Sparks.
You mean Barks, the root beer?
No, Sparks. It was before Four Loko.
You mean before LA had a team?
It was like the first energy drink that had beer in it, or like I think it was some sort of alcohol.
Yes,
I remember Jolt.
I was gonna say
Jolt was like the get down soda as a kid,
Yeah, I remember Jolt.
Yeah,
Yo, check this. Sparks is an alcoholic beverage that debuted in the market in the United States in 2002. Original formulation contained caffeine, one of the first alcoholic beverages that could do so.
Right. That's right.
Active ingredients included taurine, ginseng, and guarana. Common to all other energy drinks. What happened to Sparks, man?
It was common at Chico State, I can tell you that.
I used to buy these shits when I was on the road.
Was it like a White Claw?
Yeah, but like a White Claw Red Bull, but the original. Yeah.
Oh, so it's like
one flavor.
So White Claw with a 5-hour energy.
They were trying to capitalize off of the popularity of Red Bull and vodka.
Yeah,
interesting.
Yeah, but
fascinating.
Yeah, and another one. What was that? What was the Mountain Dew? The alternative. What's that shit called? Like Rage or some shit like that. You remember that?
I don't remember
The Mountain Dew alternative.
I must have been drinking too many Sparks then. You know?
Hold on, Mountain Dew came out with an alcohol?
No, they came out with a they recently came out with some kind of coffee bullshit. But they had a competitor back in the day. It was like some shit. He used to give me the fucking runs.
Yeah, Johnny Smash is on it in the comments. It was the original spiked energy drink for sure.
Nice.
Yeah, see, he's saying Jolt too. Johnny Smash is.
No, but Jolt was just a soda, I think.
It was a soda until you mixed it with alcohol.
Well,
yeah, Coca-Cola had a alternative to Mountain Dew back in the day. What is it called? Is that called Rage or some shit like that?
I thought it was called Mount Shasta.
Mount Shasta.
Yeah, we gotta wrap this up, you guys.
Let's do it. We got no women in the room left. Like Sean Kiernan fucking chased off all the women on
we don't got time for none of that. Thank you all for getting high at night with us every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific and high noon on the East Coast. Big thank you to our audience and supporters for tuning in daily and listening to the insanity that is the developing cannabis industry. Thank you to all of our haters for always talking about us, because we have the most immaculate pieces of property rent-free inside of your heads. Huge thank you to our sponsors, True Classic, iSpire, Wizard Trees, DNA Genetics, LAXCC, for keeping rocking with us. And thank you to our correspondents for being absolutely amazing and giving us reason to do this. Thank you to Cloud Media Partners, House of Fuego, Green Street, and Zaza Simone Brown holding us down in Clubhouse. And thank you all for tuning in and getting high at 9 with us. It's America's #1 daily cannabis news show. Run it at them.